And a drive-by shooting outside a church in Pakistan has left 2 dead and 7 more injured. The Islamic State group says it was behind the attack. So let's have a look at how the media is digesting some of these stories. Of course, James Comey, that interview with ABC News, the exclusive, is going viral online and on social media. This is Politico, their website, which says James Comey, whose book A Higher Loyalty is released this week in anticipation, US President Donald Trump's unleashed a tweet storm assailing the book, while Mr. Comey has attacked the president, calling him morally unfit to be president. The Guardian and many other newspapers is looking ahead to UK Prime Minister Theresa May's day, because she's, of course, facing the House of Commons as they return from their Easter recess. It's the first chance she'll discuss what happened over the weekend in Syria. She is expected to hit back at critics of military action in Syria by insisting the decision to unleash airstrikes was aimed at preventing human suffering. The Arab News leads with this week's Arab League summit, which is also being called the Jerusalem Summit, in solidarity with Palestine after Saudi Arabia criticised Washington for announcing it was moving its US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Gulf News says oil prices are expected to rise further due to the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Other factors for the increase are oil producers cutting production by about 1.8 million barrels a day in order to help lower global inventories. And finally, it seems there may be no limit to the lengths of the pushy parents in the UK. They'll go to get their kids into the best schools. According to The Guardian, one expert from the Good Schools Guide, couples are now faking a marriage breakup in order to secure different addresses to get their children into the colleges they desire. The plot thickens and Cornelia cannot resist giggling at that final story. She's back, Cornelia Meyer, as promised. Let's start with the response to the James Comey interview with ABC News, but also the fact that his book is coming out as well. It was quite explosive what he had to say to their journalist in a very lengthy interview that covered many issues.
The journalist used to be the Clinton press guy, you know, Stephanopoulos.
George Stephanopoulos, yes, from ABC News.
Exactly.
I didn't realise that, so that is good to know.
So that's quite interesting. But the interesting thing here is that, you know, to call the president medically and morally unfit to lead the country.
He said he's morally unfit.
He also said he's medically unfit to be president.
Oh, I thought he said he was medically fit because, of course, he did so well in all his...
Medically unfit to be president and morally unfit. So that is quite the...
He says, I don't think he's medically unfit to be president, meaning he is fit, physically fit, but he's morally unfit. Anyway.
It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to say to the president, and what I'm really getting tired of is that constant mudslinging surrounding the presidency. You know, today it's Comey. Yesterday it was something else, and it's that constant on him.
Former director of the FBI, who's not just saying he's unfit morally, but also he's obstructed justice. Cornelia, is that not?
That's terrible. It's terrible. I'm saying I'm getting it's not good for the presidency to have this constant barrage, the office of the president, sort of the presidency, to have this constant barrage of one crisis here, one...
But just to preserve the office, you can't not have people criticising or
that's not what I'm
bringing
saying.
to light revelations.
No, I'm saying this is very serious. I'm not... But I'm saying it's getting really bad, in the sense that... that this is not what the presidency should be about, and it's become about a mudslinging exercise.
It's kind of been about that really since he took office and since before as well. The question is, how damaging is this? Are we looking at a president who could be impeached or not? Obviously, the Robert Mueller investigation is ongoing into Russian interference.
We will see, and clearly Comey will have a voice in the Mueller investigation.
Well, he already said they've been talking,
Yeah.
so that was an interesting aspect. Let's now take a look at the other story that's dominating. This is The Guardian, but everybody's got it on their front page as well. May hits back at critics. Bombing Syria was in our national interest. Of course, she goes to Parliament today. Parliament gathers again following the Easter recess, and that's going to be the critical debate with Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the opposition, saying she didn't have grounds to go ahead with military action over the weekend without parliamentary approval.
I would sort of disagree with Corbyn, but Corbyn will make that statement. You know, if you want, she was with the US, she was with France, and sometimes you need to act quickly and swiftly. So I would disagree with that, but that will be the debate, and she will have to face that debate.
Something the government has done is they've actually published their reasoning for the action, and also what the international law states in terms of military action of this kind. And the UK government's at pains to say we've followed all the rules. We've followed the letter of the law, and only 3 chemical stations
it was
were attacked.
Very surgical strike, and after, you know, but what we really need to start looking about, and we've had this discussion off air, is where are we going now with Syria? Because I mean, it's incredibly difficult. But you have millions of people displaced. You have hundreds of thousands killed. You have 3 million Syrian refugees in Turkey. You have about 1.5 million together in Lebanon and Jordan, being real strains on those economies and on the water in the case of. So we do need to look at finding a solution. I know it's difficult. That's extremely.
Where do we begin with that?
The Staffan de Mistura's process has not worked. But that is really, unless we find a solution. I mean, where are these children right now dodging bullets and bombs?
Who should find a solution? Where does that come from? Because that's a difficulty. I mean, obviously the United States, France, the UK was very much at pains to say this is not about regime change.
Absolutely.
This is about preventing a humanitarian crisis.
It probably has to be some sort of a UN guided thing. And Syria needs, in the end, something along the lines of a Marshall Plan to be rebuilt. Because if you have unemployed youth roaming, you know, the rubbles, you will never build a stable society.
We'll move on, but just to say very quickly, many papers as well in the UK have got this concern about a UK being braced for cyber revenge from Russia, from the Putin regime. That's the allegation or the thought that might happen in retaliation over Syria strikes. It says lots of papers leading with that as well. A cyber war being launched in the UK. We've got to move on.
Yeah, we got to move on, but this is all speculation. It's all speculation.
Right. Front page of Arab News, we've got this for you to talk about, Cornelia. You write for Arab News, you work and operate in the Middle East a lot. The Jerusalem summit, the renaming of what is actually the Arab League meeting, how symbolic and significant is this?
It's very significant. It's a Dhahran summit. They met in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and it's very significant. It really sets a message. You know, somebody needs to do something about Palestine. It is, you know, it is in opposition of the US moving their embassy to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is really de facto, is now united, but it's divided, and the Palestinians have claim over eastern Jerusalem. So this is very significant, and it also brings back the Palestinian problem, because with all the quagmire on Syria, Iraq, IS, you know, Daesh, we have all forgotten about the Palestinians. And so it brings focus back. And the late King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, the predecessor of the current king, he had an Arab peace initiative where he said, okay, if you give the Palestinians this much territory, we will accept Israel.
Thank you, Cornelia. We are out of time, but I will tweet the story about pushy parents and also one about oil, so you can get our comments via social media. Thanks for being with us on The Briefing. We'll see you soon.